Welcome to the Movie Girl.
Oh shit, I missed it.
Sorry.
Shit. It's the Movie Girls. We're here. Hi.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Aw, I'm good. It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day
Outside,
to be
and here we
inside
are
and close
inside.
the blinds like what we've done. And we're watching movies. We've now taken to doing, this is our second week in the row where we've had our Wednesdays off and we're doing double features.
Double feature.
Double up those features.
So last week we did Little Women, which we just finished watching like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, but for you it was a whole week
It was
ago.
a whole week ago through the magic of television. Nope.
Through the magic of podcasts.
And then this week we're doing 13 because we thought it'd be funny, watch a movie about these girls who lived through the Civil War back in whenever the Civil War was. Don't know history.
Sometime in the 1800s.
And then move all the way up to 2003, the story of a 13-year-old girl going through some intense times of her life. And that brings me to today's movie, 13. 13. This movie, yeah.
Also, it was I meant to say we were rambling on in the last movie or podcast how we're like, oh, this is episode 11. This is like episode 12. It's like, shit, we should have done this as episode 13 because that would have been way smarter. But we are not
dumb.
known for being smart.
Good callback.
So, yeah.
I already forgot. And that
I
was
remembered.
just hours ago.
Just mere hours ago.
Mere last week's ago.
last week's ago. So this is episode 12.
Episode 12, we're doing 13.
Just realized, because I always, like, when I type up the little, like, titles, it's always, like, episode 12, written out 12, colon, and then the movie. So it's going to be, like, episode 12, 13.
And the hell of it is we could have just lied and recorded another episode
one?
and released it as episode 12
But you know what?
and bumped 13
we're
to 13.
Honest. We like you to know that we're always telling you the truth.
Hey, this is us, raw and unfiltered.
Exactly.
12 is 13.
Yes. 12 is 13. Don't tell me anything else. I'm going to show you what's what. You don't know.
We don't think
You
ahead.
don't know. But we did
How
kind
dare
of
you
think ahead, though,
insinuate that we
because,
should.
like you said, we did it on purpose. Like, it's Little Women is about sisters and family and friend, like that kind of bond and growing up and coming into your own. Mm-hmm. And so is this one. Very different movies.
Very different. This is
but
a
very
broken family.
Similar themes with the family, friends, that kind of a thing. So they're similar. Very, very different, but purposefully chosen. Which I think is great. What do you got? You do, this was your choice. You tell me things. Unless you don't have things.
No, all I need is a synopsis, and the synopsis, well, no. This movie was released in 2003, and I have such a clear memory of being excited to see this movie and watching it right away. I was 16 years old, I think, and I don't even know, like, how I would have heard of it. I guess, I don't know.
I don't know either, actually.
But I did, and I was excited, and I watched it, and I liked it. I haven't seen it since then. How many years ago was that? 15?
Yeah. Actually, I think I remember now how I watched it. It wasn't in theater, but it was when my cousin Carmen and I lived together. We moved out when I moved out for the first time. It was with Carm. And I think she bought it or rented it, and we watched it together. Mm-hmm. So it was me and my cousin Carm, who's also like my sister. That was my sister Carm, but she's my cousin. Or we watched it together.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember it was
So how old were you?
18.
Roughly. 18, okay.
I'd have been 18.
So we both saw it in our teens.
Yeah, 17 or 18.
Okay.
Because I moved out when I was 17 and a half.
Oh, yeah.
It was sometime in that chunk.
This movie was directed by Catherine Hardwicke, and it was actually, the screenplay was written by Catherine Hardwicke and Nikki Reed, which I had no idea.
No,
and we'll talk about that more after the movie.
Yeah.
But it's starring Evan Rachel Wood, Holly Hunter, and Nikki Reed.
Yeah.
So the synopsis is that Evan Rachel Wood plays a junior in high school in LA who begins dabbling in substance abuse, sex, and crime after befriending a troubled classmate. Mm-hmm. Oh, intrigue.
Intriguing.
And then Teal, why don't you tell us about our drink?
Okay, so this is the cocktail choice this week is, I would say, our most...
A lot of thought went into this.
A lot of thought went into this. And it's probably the most off-brand way to do something, but probably
Disagree.
the fucking best.
I would say the most on-brand.
What we decided to do for the drink this week is, instead of what we usually do, is we choose something or create something that is the essence of a movie. of what we're watching. Hence last week with Little Women, where we tied in all the sisters together as an ingredient and created a cocktail, which again, fucking brilliant. Tiffany, you're the genius.
Thank you.
This week, what we chose to do instead of finding one that was the movie, we went and thought back to what we were like at 13 and what we were actually drinking at that time, and to put ourselves in the shoes of the character. And I don't know about you, but we absolutely weren't drinking fancy pretty cocktails at that time. We were drinking, drum roll please, Smirnoff Ice! So, cheers to a bottle each of Smirnoff Ice.
Wait, let me ask you first. When's the last time you've had a Smirnoff Ice?
Oh God, absolute ages. I don't, at least probably 5 to 10 years ago.
Nice.
One day we had it at some like wedding or some such nonsense. I don't know, because it was like free. Because Open Bar always has these
they always have
nonsense
Smirnoff
things.
Ice.
But you're always embarrassed. You can't just order a Smirnoff Ice when you go anywhere. It's mortifying.
It's embarrassing.
It's so not the cool thing to do. But that's all we drank, because you can get a 4-pack for like $10.
And I'll tell you exactly the last time I had mine was
Please
at my
do.
friend's bachelorette, and we were at the Thunder Down Under, which is an Australian male
Gross.
strip show. Disgusting.
Yeah.
But I ordered this because, again, it was a very limited menu at this casino we were at, and I didn't drink beer at the time, so Smirnoff Ice it was.
Yeah.
And it was fucking delicious. But that was a decade ago?
Yeah, it's been a long, long time.
I'm so excited.
Cheers to being 13 again. Gross. Oh my God.
Oh my god. Oh,
I mean,
just as good as I remember.
So many.
Why don't we drink this all the time?
I don't know. They're so good.
And we're drinking out of fun-colored straws with
Yeah,
umbrellas.
gross, because obviously we still have to make it a little bit fun. And also, I didn't know that it was like lemonade flavored, and you've kind of ruined it for me.
I ruined it for you?
Yes, because
How
it was
so?
just Smirnoff Ice flavored.
Oh, right. It
It's
was
not
just a
lemonade
mysterious
colored.
flavor of the
It was
Smirnoff
weird,
Ice.
like icy gray, murky
No,
color.
it's good because it tastes like lemonade and
I
nothing
never
else.
knew that that's what it was tasting
that
like. It
sounds
was a
like a you problem.
mysterious flavor.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest thing to drink, and I'm upset we only bought 4 of these and we have to give one to Joel,
I
so
know,
fuck.
because he's gonna be so excited.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch the movie.
So excited.
Let's
Grab your stuff.
let's go back to
Smirnoff Ice and
2003.
Let's get her done. And we're back.
I feel a little sick from the Smirnoff Ice, and I'm glad we didn't have a second one.
You wanted to share the second one, and I was like, sure, but then didn't go get it. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's probably for the best.
It's for
I
the
would have
best.
had it.
I would
You
have
know
had
I
it.
would have. But
Glad
like
I did.
again, like being 13, it's definitely feeling it after one.
Yeah.
Ooh. Sorry about
Now I know I don't drink those still.
Yeah, because there's sugar and vodka. Ugh. Oh my! So where do we start?
I don't know, it was too real.
Oh God, there's so many things.
Too
Okay,
real.
let's start on a fun note. All the fun things about being 13 again. And the fucking little stupid notchy belt things and the glitter.
The low-rise
the low
jeans.
rise, the thong sticking out
I
the back.
hated those jeans, but you had to wear them
You
because it
had
was
to.
cool.
They were stupid.
I remember the first pair of low-rise jeans I bought were $75,
Oh,
just like the
jeez.
ones in the movie, and it was like the most money I'd ever spent on anything at that time. You know, all my hard-earned allowance.
Yeah.
Were these fucking low-rise jeans, and they're so fucking uncomfortable, and you sit down and your butt crack is hanging out, and you have to like
Yeah.
yank them up.
But it always looks stupid. They're not
And they
high
make
enough
your
to cover
butt look dumb
crack.
too. Like just the whole thing was gross.
I remember like not like the low rise, but the first pair of like fashionable cool jeans I bought, or actually it was wasn't Stitches. What's the other one? Blue Notes. Blue Notes. And they were low-rise jeans, but they were tie-up ones.
Oh yeah.
And then I wore them that weekend to a pit party because that's what we did in the prairies.
Did someone untie them?
No. No. It's not cool. So it was at a pit party, but we were underage. Then the cops came because, as they do, and you can tell from a distance because any good prairie teenager knows how to tell an RCMP car from any other car just by its headlights, because of course we can. Skills you learn. And of course we bolted because we were, I don't know, 14 or 15 or whatever, and just bolted it through the fields back to town, and then had to hop a fence, but it was a barbed wire fence, and I got like my fucking jeans caught on it, so this big like L-shaped rip in the center of it, so you couldn't do
No.
anything. It was like I stitched them back together, but like it's not.
Yeah,
it
you
wasn't.
you
on
could wear
a-
them again.
Yeah, like it wasn't on a seam. It was just in the middle of the fabric. And I was like, God damn it! I was so mad. My grandma bought me those jeans.
Damn it.
It was so ridiculous. To be 13. All the puka shells. And then I was telling Tiff about like you put your hair in the center, then you put your hair in a ponytail, but you pull down those two pieces right at the part to like frame your face, but Tiff couldn't do it because she had curly hair.
And butterfly clips. Do you remember butterfly clips? I loved those.
Those were a thing. Oh, Jesus.
A simpler time.
Ugh.
Just kidding. It was terrible.
No, it was horrible. I
was
don't want to do
awful.
that again. No, thank you.
Yeah, this show, it's the most bizarre sensation to watch a show, that happened when you were kind of in your not childhood, but you were a teenager, so you're pretty cognizant of what's going on, and yet you kind of relate more to the mom now watching it the second time around. That's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
I was the kid, but I can't relate anymore.
Yeah. Or I think it's like, but I think the interesting thing with this one is we were teenagers in the time that this was filmed. So I remember all those things from being that age and having all those things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting because you can relate to that.
Oh yeah, it hit very close to
Yeah.
home in some
But then
parts,
it's
and
like-
I almost like had a panic attack at one point. I don't know if you
God.
noticed, but I was just like, yeah.
Which part?
I don't want to talk about it, but I was just like,
okay, fair enough.
yeah. It was a lot. It was. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I think there were starting to be like memories resurfacing. I'm like, nope, push those
Just
down.
shut that
Push
down.
it down. Push
Lock
it
it
down
away where it
deep.
belongs.
Yeah, lock it away with those ripped jeans. There was suede, the tie-up things with little suede
Yeah. Oh, I had a
leather
pair of
things.
those too.
They were
I thought
so
it was
cool.
real cute.
Yeah. There's more to that story, but again, that's a push-down memory.
You'll text it to me later, though, right?
Sure. You gonna text me yours?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh, God.
So really cool that this was co-written by Nikki Reed. I had no idea of that until we were doing the research.
Me too.
So it's kind of funny because we kind of touched on this earlier, but Catherine Hardwicke knew Nikki when she was young. So I was on Wikipedia, I think on Nikki Reed's Wikipedia page, and I read that Catherine Hardwicke had been a friend of her mom's, and that's how it all started. But then I read another article that said that she actually dated her dad back when she was like 5, or she knew her since she was 5.
Yeah.
Was in her life for a long time, dated her dad for a really long time. And then I think she said that she kind of saw Nikki falling apart a little bit, like succumbing to all of these things, some of them that we see in the show. And she knew that she wanted to get her sort of tapping into her creative side, not succumbing to the trials and tribulations of being 13. So she offered her to write this show with her. Should I stop?
No.
Oh, you're looking
Sorry.
something up? No, I didn't know if you were like texting someone or not.
No, look something up. I just was listening. I was not being
Totally
rude. I
fine.
was being rude, but not like deliberately.
No. I don't know where I was at.
Sorry.
That's okay.
About succumbing to being 13. And
Well, because Nikki wanted to be an actress, so she offered her, like, do you want to co-write this thing with me? And she kind of wrote it about her own life and her own family.
yeah, like I had read that part too, but like, yeah, one of the things, like I always do the IMDb trivia, and you always do the Wikipedia, and then I'll usually just like type in the name of the movie and then trivia or facts to see what kind of pops up. And like one of the like articles of 10 things you didn't know about this movie, because there's always one of those. But yeah, they just said Catherine Hardwicke used to get her hair done by Nikki Reed's mom, and it's like, well, no, there's more than that. I don't know. It felt kind of.
I read that too. I read that she dated her dad, and then she started going to her mom to get her hair cut.
Because she wanted to remain close to the kid.
She wanted to stay in her life because they had a close relationship.
Yeah.
So, fair enough. And then they were casting the movie, and they didn't want to cast Nikki in the lead role or anything like that. And I think that they were looking for other actresses to play the role of Evie. And then eventually they offered it to Nikki because it was such an uncomfortable role to be played by a young actress. And I guess they thought that she could do it. I don't know why it was okay for her to play it, because she'd been through a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So in her own life, when she was 13, she had befriended some people. Like a friend of hers was arrested for selling crystal meth. Like at 13, can you imagine? Or 12 even, I think is what I read. So she's had a life for sure. And I read that later in life, she actually regretted the way that she portrayed her family. Even though, I doubt that it was an exact representation of what her family life was like.
Yeah.
But it probably affected her family quite a bit watching this movie, and she especially regretted the way that her dad was portrayed, because in the movie he's a very absentee father. Her parents are divorced or separated, and there's one point where their dad's supposed to take the kids for the weekend and he can't do it because he's busy with work. And she regrets that, you know, that kind of reflected poorly on her own father. And she said, you know, he was a much better father than what you see in the movie, which, like, fair enough. I would never assume that that's exactly true to life. You know what I mean?
And it's much more, it follows those tropes of what happens to divorced families and single moms and kids and what are dads like when they, because it's usually the dad that moves on and gets a new job and gets a new house and gets a new family, and the mom that keeps the kids. It's like usually what happens when there's divorce. Like that's kind of the typical thing, especially what we see in movies and TV. So it's not a stretch for them to have portrayed him like that, because that's kind of the norm.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it would that she would have felt badly about that for who knows how long and carried that with her, because she wrote this when she was so young, and when you're that age you don't really have a clear snapshot of what's actually happening in your life.
Of course.
It's different, you know, through your eyes in that moment. At that age you can't really process things in a way. So yeah, it'd be like, you know, watching your diary being read out loud by somebody and having like thousands of people seeing it. Like, it's gotta be hard to watch, I think, for her.
I agree. She said something about her mom, and that relationship was really strained after her mom saw how she was portrayed and things like that. But again, yeah, like if you're 13 and 14 and you're making this, like you don't know. You haven't grown up and out of it. You haven't done therapy. You haven't done anything to figure out what you're doing. She's in the middle of being that person. You don't know. Like, this is just a coping mechanism, your own form of therapy. It's just a story. Like, of course it's based in truth, but I don't know. Yeah. Movies aren't real.
No.
They come from a place of, like, from reality, but they're not. You exaggerate to tell stories and to make things extreme because nobody wants to watch exact everyday life. It's boring as hell. Yeah. I don't want to watch my everyday life. It's boring. Yeah.
Really cool. They wrote the script in 6 days too.
Yeah,
and then
it's wild.
It's wild. And the girls were 14 years old while they were filming. And when they were filming, they had to abide by child labor laws because the girls were so young. So I read that the shooting schedule was very frantic as well because they only had a certain amount of hours to shoot in a day that was legally allowed.
Yeah, it's like 9.5 hours is legal for that age, when normally on set it's 12, 14, 16, 18, whatever hours. Like, it's long days, but you can't do that when you're underage.
Yeah, but I do like the way that it was shot. It was very frenetic and gritty, and like the exposure changes over the course of the film, like towards the end.
Yeah.
It was like,
I liked that. I liked hearing about the process and how they filmed it. I love that side of it. It almost feels like a secret little Easter egg that you find out about afterwards.
Yeah.
And mostly filmed on handheld.
I was gonna say handheld
really
camera,
cool.
so you're feeling like you're right there in it.
Yeah, and they did. They said Catherine changed the lighting throughout the whole film to make it just to match the mood and the distress of the characters. And the further Tracy spiraled downward, the grittier and darker the film became. And by the end of the movie, it's almost a black and white total washout, which is when she finally hits rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then, which I loved because I knew that from beforehand. So I was kind of paying attention to
Yeah, like
that
I don't think I ever would have caught that the first time I watched this movie,
No,
of course,
not
but
at
watching
all.
it now, it's very apparent and really interesting.
And then at the end, when her and her mom fall asleep in her room and it goes to nighttime, but when the sun comes up again, the color's all back.
Yeah.
Which I just think is so poetic and beautiful, and I love things like that. I think that's so fascinating.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And the other thing about the ad in it for that, because there's the white poster with the eyes and the lips, and it's like truth, beauty is truth or whatever.
So at the very beginning of the film, there's like a poster in the background or an ad or something on a bus stop, and it's like pristine and clean, and then at the end you see it again and there's graffiti all over it. Yeah.
When it kept popping up all throughout the movie. Did you notice it?
I did. I only noticed the beginning and the end.
It was quite a few times throughout, and every single time it was less white and a little bit dirtier and a little bit more.
Shit, I missed that.
Time. And the eyes in the poster are Nikki Reed's eyes.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'm so mad at myself that I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I noticed it.
Did you read about it ahead of time, or you? Oh, okay.
So that I was watching for it.
Damn it.
Right. Fuck. So I was reading for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it popped at the beginning and the end, and then probably 3 or 4 times throughout.
Well, now we got to rewatch the whole thing.
Well, I guess we'll
start it up again.
Well, shit. Yeah, I just thought I love things like that. I like I love reading
I
about
love
that.
it. I
find that
love
stuff
it.
so fascinating, and what amazing ways to tell story and to show progression and character development and just that spiral, you know, and how that's what fascinates me. I love it. I love it. Anyway. Now you're doing a thing.
Yeah, I'm looking up Catherine Hardwicke's other films because
She did Lords of Dogtown.
Lords of
was one
Dogtown.
her. Twilight. She did the first Twilight movie.
Oh, okay.
So she started that one.
The bad
I actually
one.
have I have a fun I guess I have an interesting.
Oh, that's why Nikki reads in Twilight.
Nikki reads in Twilight. Yeah, Catherine Hardwicke. So talk about her now.
Yes.
Cool.
Go for it.
Just about what she's done, and I also didn't know that about 13 when you picked it. I didn't look at the director and writer, so I was pleasantly surprised that there were females. That was really cool because I didn't know that. But she's a really great director. She's directed a lot of stuff, and I found a cool, if you don't mind me reading a long thing,
Please.
a quote about gender inequality in Hollywood,
Love it.
which I thought was really interesting. So, she said, "When I had some tears on Twilight during a storm and we couldn't film, I went behind a tree in the forest. I cried for like 30 seconds and I came back and we finished the day. I had a $150,000 a day pressure. Most directors scream. We've seen videos of it. They yell, they fire people, they don't come out of their trailer. Some of them drink, some of them get hookers. Everyone reacts to the extra pressure in different ways. Well, I just thought, I'll go over there, I'll cry for a second and come back. Someone saw and reported it. I'm suddenly labeled emotional. And yet, now I've learned of 2 instances of male directors who cried on set and they got a standing ovation because they were so sensitive. Of course, it's a double standard. Of course, it's gender bias. I've never gone over budget and my movies have made a ton of money. Still, I get labeled whatever code word they want to label me. I've had 20 movies since 13 that I've tried to get made. On Red Riding Hood, I had to take a 57% pay cut right after I created a $400 million movie and a huge franchise being Twilight. Which is the end of that quote.
Oh.
But so she made 13, which did amazingly. She was the start of the Twilight franchise, and that thing exploded.
Yeah.
And then she went to go make another movie a couple of years later and had to take a 57% pay cut right after that.
Somebody reported it? Ooh. I'm like equally mad, and it also really hurts my heart and my soul.
Yeah. But that's what happens, right? You get these fucking ridiculous, egotistical, obnoxious fucking male directors who lose their shit and are basically children and scream and yell and fire and throw things and don't come out of things and drink and blah blah and lose their fucking shit. She goes and says, okay, I'm having a fucking moment. I'm gonna just go over here for a second, 30 seconds, just have a little by myself.
Yeah.
In a forest.
Behind a tree.
And then you know what? Okay, then I'm going to come out. I'm going to finish this day. We're going to get it done. But somebody just sees that little tiny, literal 30 seconds of crying and is like, oh, she's emotional. Ha 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 ha. Told you, women are emotional. Told you. No. Like, that's such bullshit. But then other male directors cry on set and they're so sensitive and wonderful. Oh, look how sensitive that man is being.
He's so passionate.
Oh my god, I can't believe he's just allowing us to see his emotion.
Yeah.
Fuck that bullshit. I mean, that's society and this whole thing where women are emotional and men are tough and strong. And when they are like being emotional, then it's amazing how wonderful and sensitive they are. And I mean, that just goes into the things how we don't let little boys have any emotions or cry or be upset because they have to be tough and manly. So they're trained from birth that's how they're supposed to be. So of course that's how they're going to behave.
And she handled it. She actually had a control on her emotions.
Yeah. Oh my god, how dare she? Ugh. Anyway.
Do you remember, I just realized that I've been conflating in my head Catherine Hardwicke and Catherine Bigelow all this time. I was like, didn't she do The Hurt Locker? And I was just kind of looking it up, and nope, that's Catherine Bigelow, so I'm a shit person. But now we know. And now we know her work, and we can maybe watch some more of her stuff, too.
It's true. Who's Catherine Bigelow?
Catherine Bigelow. She did, like, Zero Dark 30, Point Break. I think her and James Cameron dated.
Oh. Well, this is random.
And yeah, so I was confused when you were, like, telling me her work. I'm like, well, where's, The Hurt Locker? Like, that's the one that was in my mind for some reason, so.
Sorry.
My bad. But now we know.
Yeah, and there we have it. But yeah, that was the interesting thing about her. So I don't know. Whatever. I don't have any fun thing. That's all my fun bits.
I don't have any fun bits either. I feel like
Oh.
this is another one of those movies that I need to go home and process, and then I'll probably have a lot of thoughts and feelings about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, some of these are just a little heavier.
yeah.
And I can't talk about it right now for sometimes. Or
I just
don't
need a
know.
minute to
It's
think.
a lot. Yeah. I can finish off with one of my notes I wrote down while we were watching the movie.
Yes, please.
That's very unrelated to anything.
Great.
And more of a reflection on past and how things, or I guess on how times have changed.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
You know what? Do you remember? So you get out of school and you go to a friend's house because you have time before you have to be home for dinner, and it just feels like the whole afternoon, and like you get so much done, and
Yeah.
like I'm going out for after school, then I'm gonna be home for dinner. It was like an hour and a half to 2 hours max because you're out at like 3:30, but you have to be home by like 5:30 for dinner. At least that was the rule in my house. Like that's so much. That's like eons when you're a kid,
It's a lifetime.
and now.
And
I
so
can't
is
do
summer.
anything in 2 hours. There's fuck all. Because, like, I just thought of it at the beginning when they're like, she goes to go shopping with them after school, and they go shopping and stuff. Like, you can't go shopping in an hour and a half. That is not enough time. It's an all-day affair. I just think about how time moves so much differently
time is
now,
so much
and-
shorter the older that you get, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. I never really... I mean, you always hear that. This is kind of the first real, like...
And the school day also felt so long, but you know, a work day is longer than a school
And
day,
school
and
days
yet,
are like 6 or 4 or 5 hours. Like,
Yeah.
they're very tiny chunks of time.
yeah. Now I work for 10 hours, and I'm like, man, I thought elementary school and high school were long days, but I was wrong, and I was not prepared for real life.
Not even a little bit. Yeah. But I just made me laugh, and I'm like, that's so funny how that felt like such... You could get anything done after school before dinner. You could get so much done. But God, now I can't do anything with myself. An hour and a half, and I'm like, I ain't got time for nothing.
Did you see any parallels between her relationship with her mom or family that you felt with your own family? Did you
Oh,
see any of
God.
yourself in her?
Ugh.
In
Yes.
Trace?
You're asking me this. This is intense.
I know. Well, we don't have to get deep into it. I'm just curious.
I mean, yeah, not so much me, I guess. Like, I was always... I know my brother, like, hated it. I was, like, the good child. But only because my brother was older than me and he did a bunch of stupid shit, and then I just didn't do the same stupid shit.
Right.
So then I was like, oh, that's the good child. I'm like, nah, you did all the dumb shit first, so I didn't have to. Like, I still did stuff and, like, came home drunk or whatever, and, like, but not a lot. I was still, like, a problematic teenager, but not as intensely, but only because I saw how I got to see firsthand, like, the Tracy of my family, I guess, was my brother. Not that he was a horrible, problematic person, but just he did those teenagery, shitty things that teenagers do, and that she was doing, he was doing, and I just saw how it affected everybody, so I just didn't do those things for the most part. I still did some stupid shit, but not as much because I don't know, somebody else did it first, and like a year ahead of me. So it wasn't like we're pretty close in age, so we were doing all these same things at the same time, and
Yeah.
him just slightly ahead of me, so I got to learn from that. How about you?
Oh, tons. I thought there's a bit of a double standard in the movie between her and her brother. Hey, he was at all of the same places that she was, and she was kind
Yeah.
of getting in a lot of trouble, and her mom was very on her about it. Whereas her brother, you didn't see any of that anyway that they portrayed.
Mom knows I smoke pot. It's like, you're like 14.
Yeah,
Like-
and he's very on his sister about all of these things that he did even before she ever did. Like they're like she was
Yeah.
playing with Barbies and dolls, and he was already doing all of these things, and yet it's kind of okay for him, but it's not okay for his sister. So
Yeah.
I was kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, I know. I hate that shit. It's whatever. Like, I know that that's kind of what our podcast is, but
It's still exhausting.
it is exhausting seeing all the double standards and the gender inequality, which again is the whole point of doing this
It's
every
the
episode.
whole point.
But like, sometimes it's more annoying.
I need to
than
call it
other
out
times.
every time, but yeah, it's definitely fucking
Yeah.
annoying.
We do have to call it every time because it's happening. It's still happening.
Yeah.
And this is the very little bit we can do about it.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's always double standards. If I think about having kids, I would much prefer to have boys because it seems like they would be easier than to have a girl.
God.
At least like when she's a teenager, like what would you rather raise? And I wasn't really a bad kid necessarily, but I wouldn't want
Yeah.
to fucking deal with my bullshit.
No. Yeah, like I wasn't a shitty kid, but still, you're a moody, growing, emotional, hormonal person.
God, the hormones.
Like, and you don't know what they are, and you think everyone's like, you're hormonal. No, I'm not. I'm just am. It's like, well, no, you are hormonal. You just are in it, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
So of course I was like a shitty, moody teenager. Like of course. I don't really remember a lot of it, but like I'm not dumb. I know I was an idiot. Annoying.
Well, teenagers
shitty.
are incredibly selfish because you don't know anything else. You haven't
think
learned
you do,
yet. Yeah,
and
you think you know
don't,
everything.
and you're trying to figure it out. There's so much going on, and it's just you're just angry I remember just being angry all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and just a lot of the similar things. Like, yeah.
That's why this film's so uncomfortable to watch, because you're like, I felt all of those things all at once, and you don't know how to process them.
Yeah, trying to figure them out, but you
It's
don't
messy.
understand. And yeah, I feel like I had all those things.
I feel like we just like went through puberty really fast in an hour and a half.
Really fast.
And I'm feeling unsettled.
Yeah.
Thank God those years are over, though, and
Right?
far behind us.
Honestly, I think I have to sneeze. It's coming.
Okay.
So, no, now it's gone. I talked about it, so it's gone now.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry. Yeah, and like, I think for me too, and some of the things I'm realizing with like when I get frustrated with my mom or when she gets frustrated with me or whatever, I think a lot of it, I'm pretty sure, is I think she forgets that I'm not the same person I was when I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she still doesn't, it's weird. She thinks I'm lying all the time. She's like, you're always lying to me. I'm like, I'm actually not. But like, because
it serves no purpose now.
Doesn't.
I'm a grown
like,
woman.
But when I was 16, of course I fucking lied about all kinds of shit because you're a shitty 16-year-old.
So she just like doesn't trust you.
No. She's like, are you lying to me? No. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm like,
that's
I
hilarious.
don't need to, but like, you have to remember that I'm almost twice the age I was.
I'm grown, Mom!
Like, I've lived all of that. Like, I'm twice that now. I'm not the same person. I'm not the same person I was last year, let alone was fucking 16. I think she forgets that, or just is so probably rightly traumatized from having two teenagers. And you just, I don't know. I'm not a mom. I don't fucking know. But I mean, they just like.
I think your kid is always your kid.
Of course. And I think that's exactly it. Your kid is always your kid. And it's like, fair enough. But I'm also not a 16-year-old kid who's just a shitty little liar who is just like devious and shitty. Like,
yeah.
I'm not that person, I promise. Like,
I think it's an easier lesson to learn that your parents are people, probably, than it is that your children are also just people.
Or
right?
not the same. Or they're not actually children and they're adults just like you. And also have grown up and moved on.
And had plenty of life experiences at this point.
I think that's definitely a thing. Because, I've gone through that realization of like, well, my mom is a person. And especially as I passed the age as she was when she was getting married and having her first kid and then second kid, and I'm past that age now.
Well, especially when you realize like your parents make mistakes and your parents fuck up, you're like, they're allowed to do that.
Of course.
Because at one point they're infallible, and then you come to a certain age and realization, you know what? Yeah. They can make mistakes, and it's fine. They're allowed to. They don't have to be perfect because nobody is.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking weird realization to have.
It really is.
I had mine really young because like my parents got divorced, and you know what it's like to have like a single parent, and it makes you grow up a hell of a lot faster in some ways, and have a lot of realizations that you probably wouldn't have otherwise had.
Yeah, no kidding. And I feel too like something that like weirds me out, like just kind of trippy weird shit, like. My like earliest memories when I really remember like my mom and what she was like, what age I was actually what age my mom was now, like my age is how old I was when I started remembering what she was like as a parent. And then I think about who I am and what I know about life at this age, which is her age, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, you were trying to deal with this, and like I remember my childhood, but my childhood was like mine, like now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes any fucking sense.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, she was like early 30s. I'm like, I don't fucking know anything, and like I can't believe.
Oh yeah, my parents like moved away from their families and had kids and like were on their own, and I can't. I could never.
Yeah. So like, all the props to you, Mom.
Yeah, good job.
God, so sorry. I don't know, but like, and she, because our childhood wasn't perfect, and she wasn't perfect, and we weren't perfect, and nothing was perfect, and there was things that we learned and things that she knows that she didn't do the best way, but also, how the fuck would you know any better? And I know she feels like a lot of like guilt and bad about how things went, and I'm like, Mom, you were a child yourself. I don't hold that against you. I'm like,
No.
if you were me, that was me, I'm like, I'm 30, well, I'll be 32 soon. I'm like, I don't know. How the hell do you know how to be a parent? You don't know how to be a parent? You can't feel bad about that. You've never done it before. How do you know? There's no point feeling bad about how you were when I was 5 because you didn't know any better.
No, you are alive and you're a functioning adult. Your mom did her job just great.
You did it.
You did good.
Did it. Like, you don't have to feel bad about things not being perfect because how would you know?
Yeah.
You
There's no
learned
way.
and grew and stopped doing those things or started doing things because you grew as a person and a parent. Like, why would you feel guilty about that? You can't. Mom, don't. I love you. You're great.
And Holly
She doesn't
Hunter.
listen because we laugh too much, so it's fine.
That's fine. My dad doesn't listen because we talk too fast, so I get it.
I don't think my dad ever picked
I
it
think
up.
he tried for like a second. He was just like, nope.
I don't think I told my dad to do it. I don't think he ever
That's,
did.
I don't
Fair
know if we
enough.
want that. It's fine.
It's fine. You can if you want to. Hi guys.
Holly Hunter did such a good job
Ooh.
in this movie because she's such a
Yeah.
deeply flawed character herself,
Mm-hmm.
but she's such a loving mom, and no matter what, she's helping out her
Yeah.
friends, she's helping out her community, and she's doing her best to help these kids. She has such a big heart, but she's deeply flawed.
Yeah.
She's an ex-addict, and so is her boyfriend, and she's not having the most appropriate relationship with him and not demonstrating to her daughter the most appropriate relationships. So it's kind of interesting to watch all of that kind of play out as
Yeah.
well, and she's just doing the best she can too, right?
Yeah.
And she's a great mom, but she
She's
fucks
doing her
up.
best. Well, one thing my mom told me, because she's a smart lady. Apparently, so for people that are addicted to whatever, so addicts, from the age that you start using is so if you're 16 and you start like drinking and smoking and doing cocaine and blah blah blah, then that's the point you're addicted from. That's where you stop developing. So
Ooh.
you're 16 forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, so whatever age you are when you start being addicted to something is where you stop growing. So you see a 40-year-old man who's been addicted to whatever for that long. He's not a 40-year-old man. He's probably like a 14-year-old kid. Because that's the mental growth that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, thinking about that with Holly Hunter's character as the mom, like, she's doing the best she can, but she's actually probably a teenager, 20-year-old, something herself.
Yeah.
Trying to deal with somebody who's probably about the same mental age as she is. Like, not to mean like you're not intelligent, but emotionally developed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the age you stop emotionally developing at.
Yeah,
Which is super fucked up,
that's a good
but
point.
also fascinating.
Yeah, Evie's mom too, hey?
Yeah, exactly. So you're trying to behave like an adult and do the adult parent things, but you're not actually capable and equipped yourself because you stopped maturing. But you just have to pretend that you are,
Yeah.
which I think is fascinating.
Well, then she did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And I think she won a lot of awards. Hey, her
She
and Evan
got,
Rachel Wood were nominated and won.
Yeah,
good
Holly
deal of
Hunter
awards.
was nominated for Best Supporting Actress Oscar, and then for Golden Globes, Holly
Didn't she win the
Hunter-
Best Supporting Actress? That's what I had on Wikipedia.
Well, then maybe I'm wrong.
I
You should
mean-
Google while I repeat the rest of it.
Okay, great.
Golden Globes. So Evan Rachel was nominated for Best Actress, and Holly Hunter was nominated for Best Supporting Performance in a Female Role. But maybe
Yeah, it's fine. Point is,
yeah, I don't know.
I guess.
Yeah. So the performances were amazing. Yeah. It just says nominated.
Okay, weird. I had it
They
as
won
one.
awards in for other different awards thingies, but for Oscars it was just a nominee.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well done.
she was amazing to watch, and yeah, it was well done in terms of like the acting and the writing and all that, and what they did, the production, and how they put everything together. I mean, obviously, because we're having feels and memories and whatnot and pushing things down. So you done
But
good
the
job.
thing is too, though. I mean, I wonder what it's like for somebody who's in their 20s to watch this movie and how they would
Yeah.
feel to it compared to how we do. Because I mean, sure, you'd still be able to relate in some ways, but
and also
not the
on someone
same.
who wasn't that early teen in that exact same era that they were.
Yeah.
Because we can relate to it even more because we lived that. It's like watching a movie about teenagers in the 80s. It's like, well, we weren't teenagers in the 80s. Like, I get it, but like, it doesn't quite hit home as hard.
yeah.
Because I'm
Little
actually...
Women.
Yeah, right?
Okay, and then the juxtaposition of the Little Women and 13. We've Come a long way, baby.
Woo! What do you think Joe would have said to you, Tracy?
Well, and two, okay, when you think of older movies, they wouldn't have been a very accurate snapshot ever. They're always going to be a romanticized, glamorized version of anything. And I wonder at what year they started being like, okay, let's be real and show things how they really are.
Yeah. I'll look for some, because there's some old movies that are fucked up.
Rebel Without a Cause?
I know, I never seen that. I want to watch it.
You're tearing me apart. But yeah, especially with movies in the 1930s, I would imagine in the 40s.
Yeah.
Super duper glamorized, right?
Yeah, right. There's some weird things. Yeah.
Oh, mother. I spent my dollar on a bottle of cologne for you. Merry Christmas.
Got the bigger one because I was a selfish twat. And I still had leftover money for my pencils.
So I guess Amy was actually a pretty good kid.
I guess so. Moral of the story.
I get to ask you the question.
Yes, you do. I'm just flipping over for you. Flip, plop.
Sorry, I feel like my thoughts are very disorganized and I can't be coherent right now because it's just one of those movies I need to like...
You know who else doesn't do well with their thoughts, isn't coherent? 13-year-olds.
Did you just call me a 13-year-old?
No, I was throwing it back to the movie. I was relating. It was like a...
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. In like a way.
In a
yeah.
Who would you recommend it to?
I feel like definitely females in our
not
age
13-year-olds maybe.
No, but like women of our generation. I feel like it'd be really interesting to watch that back.
Right.
Maybe you know what? Even like our kind of us, but that are actually going to be having children. Oh fuck.
No. I don't know. Yes.
We're not having children.
Can you imagine? Oof. If I was going to, I'd change my mind.
Yeah.
And what mood should you be in to watch it?
This definitely feels like more of an afternoon movie. More than like a evening romantic date movie.
Yeah. We were laughing about like how we felt after watching The Little Women, and then we went into this and it was like, oof. Oof.
Heavy.
It was hard.
By yourself. Maybe with like a cup of tea. Maybe not necessarily with alcohol.
Yeah.
Afternoon cup of tea. I also realize that it's mood, and I never tell you mood. I give you I give you like I set up the situation. I just give you a time of day.
That's true. I like it. A time of day. Here's what I'm wearing.
Yeah, I do that every time because that's how I watch movies. I'm like, okay, when you say mood, but I feel like more like, what state am I physically in right now? Afternoon cup of tea when you're by yourself.
Oh yeah, like wrapped up in a warm blanket and you just cry.
Yeah,
let it out.
Ooh, maybe when you're homesick for the day.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
I don't know.
That's a good one.
That's where I'm at.
How many like crystal meths would you rate this? Belly button piercings.
They didn't do any crystal meths.
Well, no, but her friend was arrested for crystal meth.
I'm gonna say I would rate this 6 stoned face slaps out of 7 know-it-all brothers.
Ooh. I like it. Yeah, I would give it 8 tongue piercings out of 8 self-inflicted belly button.
Whoa, that's
accidental piercings.
8 out of 8.
I think it's I really like it. It's so gritty and real and
as if that's any sort of rating system.
Oh no, the rating doesn't mean like when I say the numbers, it doesn't actually mean anything.
No,
when you react to it, I'm like, no, I don't.
I like it. Whatever. I like to react like it's real.
Oh my god. All right.
I believe you.
I gotta go home and like just be alone.
That's fair. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Good evening.
Thank God we're not 13 anymore. Hey everyone.
Oh, fucking cheers to that. Let's have some water cheers to that.
Okay, great.
We're adults. Yeah.
Self-care. What's happening?
Nothing. I'm so sorry.